I'm Andrew Spruill. I am your moderator for today. I want to first say thank you so much for having me. We thank you for attending because this is a very, very serious role. This is really how we interface with the university. This is how we learn what the university does and how we can help as alumni. These people here are candidates for that position as alumni trustee. The bar is set high, our expectations are high, and so we expect you to handle that accordingly. What we're going to do today is we're going to ask you a series of questions. We're going to give you a chance to tell us about yourselves. You're going to give us a background of about 2 to 3 minutes, and then we're going to start with a question and answer period. And after that, you'll have closing statements. Unfortunately, or fortunately, there will be no questions from the crowd. Everything has already been laid out. You already know the format. Each question, a candidate will have 2 to 3 minutes to respond. At 30 seconds, our timekeeper will tell you 30 seconds, and that means it's about time for you to wrap it up. If you have a thought that you're trying to finish and it's within that 30 seconds or just a little bit over, I will allow you to finish. Go a little too long, I'm going to shut you down. I do want to focus on it. I want you to be sure that this is about you guys. It's not about me. I'm just asking the questions. If we ask a question, I feel you have more room to elaborate, I'm going to ask you to elaborate. That's the only reason I'm asking you, because I want to give you an opportunity to truly exhibit and show us all that you have to offer us. Now, the order is going to be as follows. I believe that George, you will be first, Lorella, you will be second, and Bill, you will be third. That will be the order that we will follow consistently. We reached out and we got categories. We have 6 categories of questions, which you all were notified of. The first one is background experience, alumni participation, an action plan, mission, fundraising, and general. Again, as I said, you will have 2 or 3 minutes for each one. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to open up and we're going to get with our bio. And so, George, I'm going to ask you to go first and tell us about yourself.
Thank you, Drew. Good afternoon, Lincoln family, those in attendance and those that are virtual. My name is George McGriff, hailing from the class of 1986. I am representing the Philadelphia Alumni Chapter as a candidate for trustee. My background has been consistently with the Philadelphia Alumni Chapter as one of their leaders. I guess over the last leadership role for the last 12 years, involved with them for the last 24 years. My role in the Philadelphia chapter has been from the secretary through the president of the chapter. During my tenure, we were able to increase our membership by 50%. We were also able to consistently provide scholarships for our students through the Frank T. Coleman Awards Luncheon. So what I would bring to the board would be that leadership quality and that ability to raise money for our students. Thank you.
Lorella?
Good afternoon. I am Lorella Dix, and as you all know, I am seeking the position of alumni trustee on the Board of Trustees of Lincoln University, Pennsylvania. I am a native of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. However, I now reside in Owings Mills, Maryland, where I am a member of the Baltimore Metro chapter of the AALU. I've been affiliated with the chapter for the past 12 years, and I am currently the second vice president, and I am also the CIAA representative, which means that I work with the Lincoln University staff to develop and organize the activities, the Lincoln University activities during the CIAA, which this year will be in Baltimore, Maryland, the week of February the 26th through March 3rd. Just thought I'd throw that in there. Hopefully you'll come. I have been the former parliamentarian for the chapter for BMC. Since 1990, I have been a life member of the AALU. I have been a former national parliamentarian for the AALU. I have volunteered with the annual golf tournament. I have volunteered on campus with the Freshman Move-In Day. And I have come to campus several times to speak with the students in reference to careers and career opportunities. Professionally, I work for the state of Maryland's Department of Labor, and I manage several federally funded programs. So therefore, I have experience in grant writing, I have experience in fundraising, and these are some of the things that I can bring to the board. I hope in answering your questions today, that you will get some insight into my experience, my skills, and my love of Lincoln.
Thank you, Lorella. And finally, Bill.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bill McIntyre. Some people know me as William McIntyre. Others, when I ran track here at Lincoln University, they called me Dump Dump, right? So don't hold that against me. One thing I want to say is I'm a proud son of Baltimore. I know I start off with Lincoln all the time, but I had to tell everyone I humbly sitting among giants here and just honored to be in the presence of you all. So I say good afternoon, and I know I only have 2 minutes, but I'm going to say this very quickly, right? I left Lincoln in '94, and when I left Lincoln, of course, everyone has trials and tribulations there, but I was not engaged with the Lincoln University alumni. Later on, I became Lincoln University, AALU lifetime member. I have dual membership. Hey, DC Mac out there in the house. But one thing that I had to say is everyone has some warm hearts, right? And I think I could help move this forward. And one thing that I looked at, I said, Bill, like you've been running up and down the East Coast delivering economic development strategies, and what have you done for your city lately, right? And so I do the same. I taken the same spill. I had to reflect on my life and see how I was going to come back and impact Lincoln University. And as such, I'm looking at do some phenomenal things here. If we can raise enrollment, if we can raise some additional funding, and primarily engage individuals a lot more. One of the ways I want to engage individuals here, I was the president of 100 Black Men of Maryland. So that means I have national ties to 100 Black Men of America. We have 112 chapters throughout the country, and would love to bring like Collegian 100 here to Lincoln University just as the start. I continue to mentor individuals throughout the country and have some special and unique relationships with other businesses. One of the businesses, I know if you have read the flyers that have been circulating, you say, hey, you've been a member of all of these different things from the Chamber of Commerce in Maryland, Chamber of Commerce in DC, but I also have relationships with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And why do I mention that? It's because it's a unique opportunity to actually engage with individuals then put us in people of color in a different position that we traditionally don't have that opportunity. And so I look forward to seeing how we can definitely impact our Cubs and also impact us as we move forward. And finally, the final piece I'm going to mention here, I have 20 plus years of leadership experience in nonprofit, for-profit, and government agencies. And that I think we could leverage some additional resources there. Thank you.
Thank you all. We're going to get into our question and answer period. So what I want everybody to do is just take a deep breath. In and out, in and out. We're going to relax. We're going to take our time. We do have a time frame, but I want you to be sure you get your message out. Just take your time. There's no pressure. We're all family here. All family. Okay. First up, we're going to stick with the background experience. Question number one. If any of you need me to repeat the question or rephrase it, please feel free to speak up. Why do you want to run, and what competencies and experience make you uniquely qualified for this role? And so, George, that would be you.
Thank you, Drew.
Thank you.
To the question as to why, as you know, we solicit candidates throughout the terms, and the void last solicitation was that no one decided to step up. And when you think about that message to the board, it suggests that we don't care. And so that isn't the case. And so when the candidacy was announced, I received the phone calls that say, George, why don't you step up? And I've often said no to those requests. However, with the new additions to the board, leadership there, I'm kind of excited to join and participate. I don't feel really guilty leaving Philadelphia chapter. I think I've done a dynamic job in getting them settled to go without me, because that is something that I hold close to my heart. I mean, the legends that come through Philly chapter is kind of hard to leave behind, but I think they would want me to just to go ahead and get on to the big house and share my time and talent and my expectations to lead the university. And so as it relates to my experience, I've already discussed my tenure with the Philadelphia chapter, starting out as secretary in 1999, rising to president in 2008, serving on AALU committees. I have a little bit of fiscal experience that would enable me to be an immediate candidate for the finance committee. I've always done the athletic fundraising. That puts me as a primary candidate for student affairs committee. So I think those that know who I am know that I've always been committed to the university. And I'll leave that with you to decide. Thank you.
Thank you. Lorella.
My desire to become an alumni trustee stems from wanting to continue promoting the missions of both the AALU and Lincoln University, which is to find funding and support the university financially, and also to promote the students at Lincoln University and enhance their experience. I personally, for the most part, had a wonderful experience at Lincoln, and I feel that every student needs to have that experience. When they leave Lincoln, they should say they had a wonderful time. I give an example of my daughter. I tried to get her to come to Lincoln, and she wouldn't initially, probably because I graduated from Lincoln and I was coming back at least twice a year. And I think she was thinking, I don't want to be on campus with her. So she did choose another school. However, she wanted to transfer to Lincoln, and she did. And so when she graduated, she said to me, I should have started at Lincoln. So I just smiled, but of course I was thinking, yeah, I told you so. Thank you.
Bill?
You know, this time clock thing, I'm not used to. I barely can see my name in like 2 minutes, right? So I was actually fortunate enough to become Mr. Lincoln University while I was here. And I was an ambassador, right? Ambassador of Lincoln University. I went forth and spread the good news of all that we had to offer. And I would love to do the same thing all over again in this capacity. For roughly a decade, I was a professional beggar, right? So what does that actually mean? I sought out funding for different levels, right? And so I became pretty good at it, right? So I started off with grants and funding streams, donations of 50 to $100, and then it slightly increased, right? So it went to 10,000s, then hundreds of thousands. Then I started securing grants of multi-million-dollar grants, right? And so one thing that I want to impress upon you all right now is that we can't stop there, right? There's a lot of other resources that we can tap into and other ways that we can engage. One of the things that I would love to do, I'm actually a board member for the MFL, right? That's the Minor Football League. Some of you may have heard of it, some may not, but that's a natural plug and feeder for the Lincoln University football team. And so I would love to see how we can engage and move things forward in different capacities. I also served on boards of charter schools in Baltimore City and in Washington, D.C. And with that, had an opportunity to engage with fiscal responsibilities, making sure that we were governing the organization and we were financially sound. I'm going to end there because I see that I see the lights blinking and people standing up in the back like, hey, Bill, that's enough now. We gave you 30 extra seconds. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move to action plan. George, what is your priority for making Lincoln University better?
Let's talk about Lincoln University's overall well-being and how this change would occur. My thoughts are that we would need to increase mental health and counseling services, which would expand, promote mental health resources on campus. It would increase accessibility to counseling, and of course, raise awareness about available resources through workshops, seminars, and campaigns. Another way of improving Lincoln University's overall wellness would be for student engagement and community building, which would include organized well-being events, create support groups for our students for sharing experiences and coping mechanisms, and fostering a sense of belonging through student clubs, organizations, and social activities. Another way that I think would be appropriate would be inclusive and supportive campus culture, promoting diversity and inclusion, training our faculty and staff on creating an inclusive classroom environment, and to address any instances of discrimination promptly and transparently. And then lastly, career and professional development for our students, offering career counseling, connecting students with alumni networks, and highlighting success stories of our graduates who have overcome challenges. As you can see, the nominees, the candidates for these positions are great stories to tell everyone. They have great backgrounds, and our story should be told. So that's my thought on addressing wellness of the university.
Okay. Thank you. Lorella?
Okay. My action plan is for the increase enrollment, the retention, graduation, improving the graduation rates, and the persistence rate. So I have come up with a plan of act, attract, compel, and transform. The purpose of this framework is to address the growing need of the university as it pertains to recruiting high caliber students, retention of the students, and postgraduate outcomes. Furthermore, the broader framework and its recommendations are based on panel data released by Lincoln University. So I'm actually going to just quote the data from the last complete information in all three sections. So that will be from 2016. In 2016, there was a retention rate after 1 year of 68.1, after 2 years, 57.8, after 3 years, 51.3. As far as the graduation rate is concerned, it was 30.2. After 5 years, students who graduated in 5 years, it was 41.2. Students who took 6 years to graduate, 44.7. And students who took more than 6 years to graduate, 44.7. The persistent rate, which is students who return after their first year of being at Lincoln, was for 2016, 9.1. Persistence and total graduation rate was 53.8. Stopout rate, 41.0. And still enrollment was 5.2. So in order to improve the retention and graduation rate at Lincoln, I have come up with a plan, just an outline, because we only had a couple of days to get this information together.
Great.
So therefore, It is a survey of student cohort, well, after using the survey of the student cohort. Uh-oh. Okay, so it is to, let me see how I can put this in together in 30 seconds. So actually it is to get alumni to mentor incoming students and stay with them for the 4 years. It's to partner with a couple of organizations that deal with education, which is the Advancement via Individual Determination Group. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Lincoln is already working with the National Academy Foundation. And my time is up.
Okay, thank you. Don't worry about it. We're going to come back to that because
Okay.
we have more under action plan. Thank you so much. Bill?
Sure. I'm going to sum this up in one word: accountability, right? And I mean, hold people accountable from the top all the way down to the bottom, right? And when I say bottom here, I mean students, right? Students need to be held accountable just like we hold our president accountable for things, our board accountable for things, as well as Lincoln alumni. And so the clubs have responsibility that we need to hold them accountable as well. And I'm looking at a four-pronged approach to address this action plan. Would love to see education being at the forefront because we have to educate and empower our students in order to move forward into the community as leaders, right? What does it directly word for word what our mission is, right? But we can't stop there. We actually also have to start thinking about financial literacy a little bit more, right? Not just workshops, but holding our credit score close and dear to our hearts, right? Just like our relationships. And as we move forward into our real life, I'm saying real life, right? Because I feel like we're in a bubble here at Lincoln sometimes. But as we step outside of that bubble, we can move and purchase homes. We don't have to look at our credit score and try to figure out creative ways in order to move forward, but also start thinking about things a little differently, right? And then thirdly, I would like to talk and emphasize health and wellness, right? Many times people talk about mental health, right? But it's a whole spectrum of things that we need to address, right? And so we have to really bog down, identify what the priorities are, and get some baseline data, right? I know Lincoln University is doing a phenomenal job in gathering some of this information, but putting out some surveys to find out what is the need that's out there so we can address it forefront. And lastly, but not least, is a community building, right? Community building is essential. It's a way of engaging others. It's a way of touching hearts and keeping us to moving forward. And I'll stop there. I think I did it this time, right? I did the time.
Okay. We're going to move to fundraising. George, how would you increase Lincoln's visibility and financial support from its alum, and likewise? How would you increase Lincoln's visibility for financial support from outside contributors?
Fundraising, boosting financial support for the yard. I have a few thoughts on that, and they begin with alumni engagement, establishing an alumni outreach campaign, which allows for regular communications through our networks via newsletters or emails. It will be great to highlight the university achievements, our success stories, invite alum to our campus, as we do for homecoming and reunion. Establish an alumni giving program. Created targeted fundraising campaigns specifically for alumni. Offer naming opportunities. We have a stadium that's yet to be named that we could probably get some profitability on. There's an opportunity for external partnerships, local collaborations, of course, collaborating with local businesses and community organizations. We could explore joint initiatives such as internships, research projects, and community service. We could consider industry partnerships, technology, healthcare, and finance. We could forge partnership with companies for sponsorships, scholarships, and research grants. We could even address corporate relationships, approach corporations for direct financial support, highlighting the impact of their contribution on our student success. I mean, everybody would love to know if they're giving money to the university, how has it impacted? So that's always a great thing to share. And lastly, two more. Financial literacy education empowering our students with financial literacy workshops, teaching budget, debt management, and investment basics. And that investment basic piece is really, really important. We talk about generational wealth, but we do not talk about that even on this campus. And so those would be some of the things I would recommend that we pursue. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Lerone?
In increasing funding to the university, I would leverage my network in order to have organizations partner with Lincoln University. By researching federal and foundation grants, I have experience in writing grants, especially federal grants. And by creating opportunities of fundraising, such as a signature gala. Lincoln, I think, had a gala, or used to have annual galas in the past that raised a lot of money. And I think that that's something we can look at to bring back, because it does bring in money, because people like to dress up. So I think that they would come to that. But in addition to that, when we reach out to corporations, corporate entities may give us some support. However, in receiving the support, they want contributions too. It's a give and take situation. So they give us the funds in hoping to receive quality employees. So it's a pipeline. So they are investing in Lincoln, which leads back to us investing in our students. So the more experience and the more knowledge students have, and that's in addition to knowledge they receive in the classrooms, we're talking about soft skills, the better their opportunities of being hired by these companies. And I think the better chance that Lincoln will have of receiving funds from these companies, because they're seeing that we're producing students who can actually work for them.
Bill, you're up.
Oh, great. So I generally take a 5-step approach in actually securing funding, right? I identify the need. I start looking at the qualifications there. I start cultivating relationships, solicit where needed, and then stewardship, because we got to close that loop. If we don't close that loop, that's how we can't go back and ask for additional dollars. And that there are 3 main focuses there. And I know that university is doing a phenomenal job in this already, but we would just build on some of these things, right? The first thing would be foundations, second, corporations, and last but not least, the biggest of all, individual donations, right? And moving in these 3 verticals, I think that we would have the ability to enhance some of our relationships as well as drive funding. Thank you.
Okay. We'll move to alumni participation. George, what type of involvement have you had in the support of Lincoln since your graduation, financially and participatory?
We get 2 minutes for this one for me.
You can go up to 3.
I've been at it a very long time, since 1999, walking into a meeting. They happen to be having elections. My dear friend Gregory Bennett nominated me to be the secretary, and that's where my tenure began. So currently the first vice president of the Philadelphia chapter. Again, I've mentioned that I was the president from 2008 to 2012. During that presidency, I was the chair and created our social impact program, which we entitled our Keep the Warm Winter Coat Drive. We're putting coats on our elementary age students. They get to see Lincoln alum in person, and then we enable to begin talking about their tomorrow, because we all know that once they see, they're better in believing that they can achieve these things. Then I went and did some time with the Lions Pride Club, which was the initial booster club for the athletic department. I did some acting treasurer work with the Alumni Association. I've served on the financial aid committee. I've served on the Dr. Frank Tick Coleman Awards Luncheon. As you know, we are one of the premier chapters with a premier event to highlight one of our premier alum. In fact, he's celebrating his birthday. It's a leap year, 229 of this year. So when we're in CIAA, when you're toasting and bringing in on that Thursday, think about that, the frank takeover. And I'll conclude my participation with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Lorella?
As I stated earlier, I am a member of Baltimore Metro Chapter. I have been a member of Baltimore Metro Chapter for the past 12 years. Currently, I am the second vice president of the chapter and the CIAA representative. I'm a former parliamentarian for the chapter as well. I am a former national parliamentarian for the AALU, and I have been a life member of the AALU since 1990. I volunteer on campus working with the students, and in addition to that, I have contributed to Lincoln over the years financially. I have contributed to the 1854, to Dr. Allen's need-based scholarship, and I am recognized as an honor roll donor member.
Thank you. Bill?
Yeah, I feel like the prodigal son in this space. I have not been as engaged as I would love to be within Lincoln, but I had to yield to these excuses, right? Excuses build mountains to nothingness, lead the roads to nowhere. Those who specialize in themselves don't selling anything else, right? So throw the excuses to the side. I just need to talk about what I've done in the past. One of the things that I've created is, and I talked about this briefly earlier, is just some of these grants and funding streams that I've created. I'm a Prince Hall Mason, right? We secure funding, more or less. We give funding out oftentimes, and we've been doing quite a bit in that space, right? And so I've fulfilled multiple roles within my lodge, right? As well as BPM, which is Black Professional Men, totally different than the 100 Black Men of Maryland. And we secured funding in order to move our communities forward. And lastly, I want to mention just some nonprofit organizations that I've just been engaged with and securing additional dollars. And so I'm going to take that energy that I've been devoting to all of these other organizations and refocus it into Lincoln University, right? And so taking those relationships that were fostered, built, created by blood, sweat, and tears, and pour them directly into Lincoln University. Thank you.
Thank you. Next area is general. This is pretty much a yes or no answer. Feel free to expound upon it if you feel so. As an alumni trustee, you will review and decide on financial and personnel matters. Is there anything from your past that would disqualify you from making these decisions due to a criminal conviction?
Okay, are you done, Drew?
That's it.
Okay. When I got this question on Thursday night, I said, why was this question not posed when we had the nominations going in? It should have been one of the primary questions before you even decided to put your name into the field to be considered. Nevertheless, we live and we learn, and the answer is G Money is good. Okay? Rest assured, no convictions, no arrest, none of that stuff. I'm clear. Thank you.
Thank you, G Money. Laurel?
No, there's nothing in my past that would disqualify me from being on the board. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Bill?
Yeah, nothing to qualify. No, the short answer.
All
Thank
right. Slight hesitation. Okay.
Check my background.
Okay. Let's go to mission. What were your mission / legacy as a member of the Board of Trustees? Excuse me. Let me say that again. What will be your mission as a member of the Board of Trustees?
Okay. My mission, simply, is to take my proven leadership abilities, my proven experience, my proven commitment, to support Dr. Allen, period. She's a face. She has such a huge role. And I think she needs some advocates. And that's my intention as a candidate for this trustee position. Thank you.
Thank you. Lorella?
Okay. As a member of the board, my mission is threefold. One, to increase funding for the university by leveraging my networks in order to have organizations partner with Lincoln by researching federal and foundation grants that are relevant to Lincoln University, and by creating opportunities for fundraising, such as I mentioned earlier, the signature gala, and also possibly concerts. Number two is student success. By asking alumni to partner with the Office of Student Success and to give of their time and talents in mentoring students, one-on-one, in small group sessions, through large group sessions, such as Lion Speaks, or as a workshop presenter to share their plans. To share my plan of thinking outside the box when it comes to internships and possibly apprenticeships. And when I say thinking outside the box, last month I was in a meeting with Maryland State manufacturing companies, and they stated that they're having a difficult time hiring professionals, people with college degrees. And I thought it was strange, but then he said when people see the word manufacturing, they think blue collar and they just bypass the ads. And as he says, they need accountants, they need people in human resources, and they need managers. So we need to think when we're sending our students on interview or looking at companies that they can interview with, to possibly look at some of these companies that we've never thought of before, because they are looking for people to hire. In addition to that, that they also have internships, so that would allow students to get some experience prior to going into the work world. But also, I used to work in the apprenticeship department of the state of Maryland Department of Labor, and I had started attempting a program with Bowie State. However, I guess I received this promotion, so therefore I could not continue that. But I was thinking that Lincoln could do something along the same lines as starting an apprenticeship program in IT or cybersecurity, where students would actually be apprenticed their junior and senior years, be paid, and then definitely that is a guaranteed job. Once they graduate, they will have that job. So just looking at some other ways to assist the students. And since I have 1 minute, or is my time up? Oh, okay. So all I'm going to say, and support the board.
Okay. Thank you. Bill?
Sure. So my legacy would be embedded and rooted in success, right? One of the things that I pride myself on is exceeding goals, expectations, milestones, hitting milestones, making sure that we move this ball forward. And so that being said, of course, it'll be supporting all of the leaders from the board, from the president to the board, to other individuals, directors, and so forth throughout the university. But we have to also inspire, right? If we don't inspire anyone to move this ball forward, then we're doing nothing, right? I think that success is one thing, but inspiration, and I'm talking about our Cubs right now. How do we nurture them? How do we unleash potential? How do we get them moving forward and thinking differently? I was looking at, I think we had a conversation earlier, like how many people are actually members of the AALU? And then when I looked, it almost brought a tear to my eye, right? We don't have people engaged. Our Cubs should be instantly becoming part of our local chapters and national chapters. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Let's get the background. What strength in your background do you feel will be most beneficial to Lincoln University and the Board of Trustees?
I think my background as a federal taxation specialist, 33 years of service with the Department of Treasury. I've been able to educate countless nonprofits on return prep, encouraging financial literacy, asset building. I guess I'll also bring to the board my sense of determination, sense of responsibility. I do feel responsible to do my part as an alum. I've never wavered from it. It's been like a third child, my two, and I don't think I won't stop. So my tenacity to be a Lincoln alum is very important, and I'll take that to the board.
Thank you. Lorella?
I think in my background, my experience as a fundraiser and as a grant writer, I currently manage several federally funded programs, and if I were to combine the amount of the grants for each program, it would be between $5 and $6 million. I've also written grants to foundations and to the state of Maryland. My experience in fundraising comes from some of the other organizations I have been a part of and been on the board of. The Baltimore County African American Festival. We used to raise funds by having concerts, and the money from those concerts, the proceeds from those concerts went to student scholarships. So I think those are my two strong points, fundraising and grant writing.
Currently, I sit as VP of Economic and Workforce Development at a small nonprofit called Humana. Not Humana, not the insurance company. We have only 400 FTEs or full-time employees that actually work there. But because we are a nonprofit, we serve vulnerable populations, right? We are entrenched in the space of, or specifically myself, making sure that people get jobs, right? And so that's one thing that I lend to Lincoln and the board, to actually see how we can move people forward into getting jobs, right? Whether they're with the university currently, or if they're also alumni that's seeking to have job changes. In addition to that, I've been an educator, right? I've taught biology, environmental science, computer applications, in public and private sectors. I work for universities as well as the public school sectors and secondary education. And lastly, I've sat on a number of boards, right? And working on boards, sitting on different committees in order to move those institutions forward. Thanks.
Thank you. What would your action plan be to increase the graduation rate,
Or graduation rate. Okay.
campus safety, and the return of the nursing program?
Okay. Well, let's handle the elephant in the room, the nursing program. Jeez, how do we bring that back? I have no clue, except to ask those who have a program how they were able to get it running and sustained. We tried the program. We didn't enroll enough students. Didn't pass, which prevented them from having enough folks passing enough tests to get to 80%. And so I guess we had tying into recruitment. That could maybe increase it, but that's a huge task. But there are institutions that could mentor us on how to bring that back, for sure. Graduation rate, I think we may be able to tie into the suggestion of mentoring. We lose our students once they get through that freshman year. They have no idea what it is to be out on their own, to manage time, manage resources, manage their expectations. So those, as we know, we look to the left, look to the right, and that little cliche we have in our little ceremony is true. We all don't make it. And and that is a reality, but our graduation rate is probably about 40%. The graduation rate of African Americans at PWIs are about 44%, so we have some room to grow. And what was the last one?
Campus safety.
We need to probably, what's that dog name? We need 2 more Lokis, and hiring some professional former police officers, I would imagine, and just tell our students what we expect. Like, they are coming from cities that is rather violent, and their friends is coming with them when they have our parties and our events. And if they tell their friends don't bring that foolishness, then they need to be saying that and mean it. They need to be voicing what needs to be done. We can't be up here when they're students, so they have to be their own advocates. And so more dogs to sit for the guns, professionals, and student engagement with their own peers. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to answer the last 2 first, and then, because expounding on that's going to take a while. So
3
how
minutes.
to bring back the nursing program? The apprenticeship program would be an excellent gateway for the nursing program. There are nursing apprenticeship programs. George talked about recruitment, and that is exactly what we need. We need to recruit people to the nursing program, but in order to keep them, if they come in as an apprentice, they will, as I said, when they leave, they actually are working. They have a job. Once they're selected for the apprenticeship program, they actually have a job once they leave. So that could help with the nursing program. Campus safety, educating the students about campus safety. I'm not exactly sure how many officers are in public safety at this point, but determining whether or not we have enough officers in public safety. So I can't really go into detail about that because I'm not, I don't know all the information about what takes place with the campus safety. But back to my framework for student success. So I left off talking about having alumni mentor incoming students and staying with them throughout the 4 years. This helps because of the familiarity, getting it out. The student and the alumni will form a relationship. The student will become comfortable with that alumni and hopefully can confide whenever they're having issues or problems, because some of the reasons why students don't stay or have difficulty is not always financial. There are some other things going on in their life, and if they have a mentor, that mentor can help them. So that's one way. The second way, as I said, is to connect with a couple of the nonprofits that deal with student success. And I believe, as I said, that Lincoln is actually dealing with one now. And the last part, that's to attract, to compel, well, second phase is to compel. Started off with possibly giving out 120 scholarships over a 4-year period. So dealing with 30 students. And where will this funding come from? Because we know we're always asking for funds anyway. But we can, once again, look outside the box. Instead of going to large corporations for donations, why not go to small organizations and see if they would partner with us? Why not go to a church and see if they would agree to raise $2,000 every year to support a student here at Lincoln? So looking at some smaller organizations in that way to help support Lincoln. Thank you very much.
Bill?
Sure. When we talk about student success, and we've talked about mentoring quite a bit on the stage today. I was fortunate enough to engage with a guy by the name of Robert Smith, right, on Capitol Hill one day. This guy that paid for all of those scholarships and stuff for loans, not scholarships, loans down at Morehouse for their students. But yeah, he's multi-billionaire. And he said, you know what, Bill? He said, mentoring is cool, it's cute, it's nice. He said, but sponsorship is where it's at, right? And until you start sponsoring some youth, then that's how you get people forward. And it's not always just giving them dollars and cents to put in their pocket. It's lending in relationships and resources so they can move forward in life. And so, in order for student success to elevate, we need to have more sponsors involved, and that's reaching back to all of our lions and seeing how we can start to engage and look at things differently. As far as the other two areas is, to sum it up, is best practices. We need to adopt best practices from other campuses. I'm not an expert on safety, community safety, but I do realize that there are community building models that's out there. We created some within some affordable housing complexes I work with in Washington, D.C., and taking that and having people have the ownership, right, as students. As you mentioned before, as Joyce mentioned before, students had to take ownership in this space as well, right? And I started out this conversation by saying accountability, and they have to be held accountable in that same space. They know who's doing these most of these crimes and things, and so in Baltimore, we always talk about this stop snitching thing, right? But no, snitching is okay, it's cool, and we have to start to transform the narrative there in order for us to have a safer community that we work and live in. And as far as the nursing, that's again best practices. Love the idea about apprenticeships. I ran some apprenticeship programs myself in DC and then in Baltimore. But we definitely need to find the right best practices and then the right people to put in place in order for it to work. Right? When you start looking at why something doesn't work, you gotta look at the people, you gotta look at the processes, and then seeing what's missing there. Why did we fall short to begin with, right? Why didn't our students have a level of success there that would span throughout? Thank you.
What can each of you do to assist with branding and positioning of Lincoln University so that Lincoln University receives more consideration for donations, much like the Howards, Spelman, Morehouse, Hampton, and North Carolina A&T?
Other than the obvious, which is the best practice mantra, marketing, the university, it's profound how folks do not know how great we are, right? And so we're not telling our story. We're telling to the right folks, because we know we have a unique niche in Pennsylvania. We're the best there is for HBCUs. And so what can we do? I guess we'll have to find some money in order to pay for the marketing and the branding and the expertise, sort of show us how to get it done. Because we've been asking this question and we've been getting the same answers and getting the same results. So we may have to go to some other folks to get some better response in order to make that happen. Thank you.
There are a number of things we can do, except I know I don't have time to talk about them all. So I thought while we were actually having this conversation that Lincoln has marketing students. Why not use the marketing students to market Lincoln University? It can tie into their curriculum. So that's one thing that can be done. Two, to engage our alumni. So to increase alumni participation, there is a saying that there are 4 reasons why people change. I'm going to concentrate on the 3 that are relevant to alumni participation. When people see enough, they are inspired to do. When people learn enough, they want to do. When people receive enough, they are able to do. 1, we have to show the alumni who are not participating, who are not active, who are not giving back to the university, why we're doing this, how important it is to do it. And when people learn enough, we need to have conversations with them. If you run into an alum and they're not active in the Alumni Association, not giving back to Lincoln, have a one-to-one conversation to see if you can get them to join the Alumni Association, to actually give back to Lincoln. And when people receive enough, they will be able to. Well, sometimes they say, well, I don't know exactly what I can do. Well, if you can't give financially, then give up your time and your talent. Volunteer up here at Lincoln working with the students. Thank you.
Sure. We need to level up. I mean, to put it plain and short, we need to raise our standards and hold people to that standard. Um, and when I mean people, hold our students. We need to, as you began to talk about that and list those different schools, the first thing I thought about was excellence. But directly after that, I thought about like size matters, right? And so the student body population needs to be increased, right? And how do we increase that? We need to create pipelines. We need to start earlier. We were looking at some stats earlier, and people said, "Hey, we thought Lincoln University was a a local institution." And actually, when you start looking at the stats, we're more of a regional institution than local. And so I started building some pipelines into schools a lot earlier, elementary, middle, and high school, and then start to move it forward in that space, right? If we are present in people's lives earlier, they're more inclined to move here at the Lincoln University, and then just bust the doors wide open from there, because we need to definitely see how many people we can grow. I know there's a lot more planning that goes involved into that, but in the long and short of it, we need to figure out how can we increase our student enrollment and raise that brand awareness there.
If you are not selected as the nominee, would you run again? And why?
That's the question I've been posing as I drove up here today. What would be my feelings if I did not win? And I say I would be doing the same thing tomorrow, still cheering, praising Lincoln University, being impactful with the Philadelphia chapter, the way we connect to our students. So yeah, I'll be back. If it happens, I'll be back. So let's not make me have to come back. Make it happen this time. Thank you.
Good. Laurel?
As George stated, I would run again. Yeah, if not selected this time, I would run again, because the purpose then would be the same as now. So I would.
Okay. Bill?
Sure. Would I run again? I don't know. I don't know the answer to the question. I know early on people said, "Hey, Bill, this is, we would love to have you engaged. If not now, maybe 8 years from now, or 12 years from now." And I was like, "Yeah, but is that the right season for me?" I believe that I have a purpose in life. I like to fulfill my purpose in different points in time, and I really believe this is the season for me now. 4 years from now, would it be the right season? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I would hope to say yes, and love to be involved, and definitely be involved in some capacity. But would I run again? I truthfully couldn't say that answer right now or response.
Okay. Okay. So now we're going to go to our final remarks. And we have listed as instructions. I'm not sure what the instructions are. So in your final remarks, I'm going to switch it up just a little bit. So I'm going to ask you to give us your last pitch. Why you? Why you for this role? And while you're doing that, I want you to tell us, what has Lincoln meant to you?
Okay. Okay. What does this place mean to me? It means everything. I have so many friends that care for me. And I don't take it for granted at all. So, forgive me. I love this place. I give my money, my time, my talent, and I never complain. So, there you have it. G Money with tears. Can you believe it? Oh my goodness. But I love this place, indeed.
So what Lincoln has meant to me is it's an extended family. The small campus environment truly made me feel when I was here, and still does, as as if this is an extended family. I have kept relationships going from the time I'm at Lincoln till now. And because the university is so small, I've made friends with alumni who were here at Lincoln prior to my arrival and alumni who are younger than I am. So it really does feel like family, and it means a lot to me.
Okay. Bill?
Sure. What does Lincoln mean to me? I have tears right now. I have tears that George had, but I just been watering the whole time, right? But like Lincoln's history, right? When I first came here, my mother brought me up here. She was bringing some students. She's a former educator. She said, "Hey, you want to go to this school? I'm going up to this HBCU." She graduated from Morgan. I was like, "Yeah, sure." So she drugged me along. And I fell in love with the place ever since, right? And I was like, man, like this is the historical element that exists here is like no other, right? I step on campus, you feel it, right? It's like it hits you, it touches your soul, and that's something that it resonates with me, right? And as I move forward, I was like, man, this is Lincoln love. That track team, like they got me out with quite a few binds, right? Like, okay, yeah. And then we talked about that criminal background thing again. No, but. Just joking, everyone. But the love is you feel it. You feel it from basketball. I was at a basketball game recently at Bowie. As soon as I walk into the building, people hollering LU, right? You know, like I mean, you feel it, you sense it, and it's a matter of pride that's there for all of us, right? And then last but not least, right? It's the future, right? What is Lincoln University? It's the future. It's like what we will be. And if we don't be careful, HBCUs are under attack, right? And we won't be in existence if we don't take the necessary steps in order to move us forward now.
Okay. I want to be sure that everyone has an opportunity. So I did kind of throw you off with what has Lincoln meant to you. I want you to be sure that this is your best opportunity to speak to everyone and say, this is why you are voting for me to be your alumni trustee. Does anyone have anything else that they would like to add? The floor is yours.
Well, maybe not to that, but I just want to say thank you to the candidates for stepping up. It was encouraging to see, and I told them all it doesn't make out this time. I'll welcome you the next time. So be steadfast, and I would love to work with you, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you, George.
That's what you and I, right?
Yes, it was for both of us. And I was just getting ready to say how it was a pleasure being on the panel with the two of you.
Okay. Lorella, anything? Bill, anything?
Before closing?
This is closing.
Oh, it is closing.
Yes.
Okay. Well, as far as closing remarks, I'd like to say, as a proud graduate of Lincoln University and a lifetime member of the AALU of Pennsylvania, it would be my honor to serve in the place that served me. I have become a better leader, a better teacher, and a better person because of Lincoln University. I believe in who we are, and I believe the impact that we can make across the country and around the globe. This is my assignment, and I believe that this is my charge. And regardless of the outcome, I will always and forever be Lincoln University. Hail, hail, Lincoln.
Hail, hail.
Okay. Bill?
Yeah. It was taking my few words, right? Hail, hail, Lincoln. But I just want to say thank you, right? Thank you to the other candidates. Thank you to you all. I thank you for this opportunity. I don't take this for granted, not at all. You know, I know that you're saying, hey, will you run again? Will this happen? You know, future has a lot of things in store for all of us, right? But I want to say thank you for this time because time is one thing that you can never get back. And if anyone gives you that time, I hold it close and dear to my heart. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you all. Thank you all for participating. Thank you to these candidates for stepping up.